as we turn the page to the Browns-Steelers, I said this yesterday. I had a couple of people that watch the show reach out to me and say, tone down the rhetoric. It's week 3. And I get that. And I said there are no must-win games unless you're mathematically eliminated if you lose.
Yeah.
So, no, this isn't a must-win game, and that's really not the point I was making. I went on to clarify it yesterday, and I'll do it again today. This is as big a week 3 game as a team can have because they know that their starting quarterback, their number 1 guy, isn't coming back for another 8 games after this. You fall to 1-2 in this easy portion of the schedule, and for me, it makes your climb to the playoffs so much more difficult. Am I overstating this?
You should have told him, hey, you need to stay off my screen talking about. Yes, it's okay.
There were a couple of people that hit me up with
It's okay to have hyperbole. Everything is a case-to-case situation, and this is a different case for the Cleveland Browns. They are in a specific situation where they need to get their quarterback back. They're playing with a backup. And on top of that, during the middle of the season, we're already talking about getting rid of a defensive coordinator. Right. Now, I don't know how much more of a must-win you can really get without saying must-win, but there's a lot of stuff on the table for this team that it looks a little bit dark if they don't get a win today and play the way we thought they can.
How about it's a you damn well better win?
Guys, I think this is a referendum on this team, this game, because you come off as a devastating a loss as you could possibly have, right? You cannot get a worse loss than that in the month of September. Cannot. It's impossible. Right. And it's a short week, and it's your rival team. And they're on a short week, too. It's not like the Browns have a short week and the Steelers don't. Both teams played Sunday, and they've got to travel. I know it's not a far travel, but still, they're not that good a team. But we know they're well coached, and we know they come to play even if they're not that talented a team compared to Steelers teams in the past.
What, were you saving this for later? What was the spread that you said about Tomlin when they're under?
Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. So I'll give a shout-out to my man Cleve TA on Twitter, who's like the analytics guru of Cleveland. The Steelers under Mike Tomlin, how about this? Since 2007, when they are an underdog in the division, in a divisional game, they are 27-1 against the spread. And of those 20 games that they've covered, they've actually won the game as an underdog
outright
16 of 20 times. That's 80%.
Well, to that point, Ben Roethlisberger and T.J. Watt aren't walking through that tunnel.
That's true.
And
true.
Those are the safety nets. And I read yesterday that the Steelers, without T.J. Watt on the field, are 0-5.
Yes, and there's no reason for, again, I said it last week, I'll say it again, guys, no reason for the Browns to lose this game at home. It's an indictment on the leaders of this team and the coach if they do, especially if they come out and lay an egg.
I agree 100%.
I've thought all along they're going to be 2-2. I've said that. I think they're going to be 2-2 through these first 4. So I'm not going to be shocked if they lose. Will I be surprised? Yeah. Shocked or stunned? No. I've thought all along. I thought they would lose to Carolina and beat the Jets. And when they beat Carolina, that was the one that to me of, hey, you got to win this game. You've got to win this game. I didn't think they would. They did. Had a horrible loss last week. We said they should be 2-0. They're a 58-yard field goal away from being 0-2. This is who they are. And I fully expect tonight's going to come down, as you'll see in my headline. I think tonight's going to come down to the very end.
Yeah.
And
that's who they are.
That's who they are. And Atlanta, Atlanta was ranked 32nd, I think, this week in ESPN's power rankings. I thought they were better than that. I'm not saying they're a playoff team by any means.
I like Atlanta.
But Atlanta, to me, is not the worst team in the NFL. This easy portion of the schedule is easier than what we have later on. I don't think it's easy.
I know you say that you thought they'd be 2-2. In my mind, as I play out the season and what we do from week 4, schedule-wise, I just don't see a path if you're not 3-1.
And I don't think they're a playoff team this year
because
of everything that's gone on.
As I was laying in the bed like Stephen Hawking yesterday. I got a text message. From somebody close in the organization, and they said, and under no certain terms, Andrew Berry was not happy with the defensive performance.
How could he be?
Was not. I would expect this game to be a lot more aggressive out of Joe Woods. I would expect.
You mean instead of rushing 4 every play and never playing,
especially with no Clowney? I mean, you got to pick it up somewhere else.
It's going, and I said specifically, I asked Andrew Berry said something. He's not the type to come out and just say, put people. He said no. Was disappointed in the game plan from Joe Woods in terms of what they did against a quarterback. They said the players in the locker room want to be much more aggressive. Now, I said, hey, well, if you're going to be aggressive, you got to know what the heck you're doing at the end of the day, because that still falls on y'all too. Yeah. But I would expect that this is going to be a much more aggressive game.
To that point, here's what's most troubling about that to me. that Joe Woods or Kevin Stefanski or anybody involved in game planning for the Browns would need to hear the general manager say that after they played a statue quarterback and never put him under pressure.
I don't know that they would need to hear that. I think that that's probably understood. No one in the organization.
Well, no, that's
could
what
be
I'm
happy
saying,
after
that it would even have to come to that point,
Right.
Jason.
Yeah.
First of all, before you're going into the Jets game and you're looking like Belichick does every week, okay, what is this team and how do we attack them? What Joe Flacco is an immobile quarterback with a good arm.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can't let him do is stand back there in the pocket and pick his receivers, and that's exactly what they let him do. I thought we would come with exotic blitzes. I thought we'd come with safety blitzes, linebackers shooting gaps. I didn't see any of that.
Even when they were down, they never pulled it out to
No,
Tampa.
when they needed 2 touchdown drives, I thought, okay, now you ratchet up the pressure. I never saw it.
I'm relying on Tyvis was sensational yesterday. That
my
was
God.
When we were
Incredible.
done, I said I thought that was the best show that I have been part of here. I thought that was the best show because he was so good diagramming and explaining why it broke down. I rely on Tyvis. He says he's 1,000% certain they're going to have this cleaned up by tonight.
Yeah.
I'll take him at his word. He certainly knows this better than all of us. And one other thing I wanted to mention, did you guys see the video of Kevin Stefanski mic'd up during that game?
I did not. No,
That was great.
I didn't
see
realize.
it.
Do we
Was
probably
it
can't play it, can we?
NFL Films had it?
No, we can't play it, yeah.
So he was mic'd up, and now the video's edited because the teams approve what goes out and what doesn't.
Yeah, so the good stuff never gets out.
So, but you saw him, and we had seen the reaction on the deep touchdown on the busted coverage. He jerked his headset off. So that he didn't really say anything. He jerked his headset off. He was obviously angry. But the way that he was able, I thought it was impressive. I know you guys bang on him for being even-keeled. Jacoby was devastated after it was over, and immediately Kevin said, hey, this was an awful loss. This is really bad. We got to go in there, and basically said, you as the quarterback, me as the head coach, we got to have a united front on this. We're all going to share in it, and we got to move on. Right now, we got to move on. And just the way that he handled the situation, as you said, you can't have a worse loss. Yeah. Even in the sideline of that moment when most of us would be like ready to just murder everyone around you, I really was impressed with the way that he handled himself on the sideline.
That is good. Now let's see if it pays.
Now let's see if it pays off.
Turns into a
While
win
we're
on the field.
Stefanski, are we looking at a coaching mismatch tonight? Because we know what Tomlin is. Guys never finished under 500.
Yeah.
He just wins big divisional games after losses. Is this a coaching mismatch?
I mean, Tomlin gets the nod, certainly.
Sure.
If you want to go in the head-to-head, who's the better coach right now? Everybody would say Mike Tomlin.
But if you've got a slider and it's at 50-50, if the coaching slant was even, and you can move that dial, how far away from 50-50 are you moving it towards Tomlin?
60.
60-40.
I was going to say 60, 65. I mean, I think, in my opinion, most coaches in the NFL are somewhere in the middle. They're all fine, right? You got a few who are great, a few who really suck, and then most of them are kind of fine.
Yeah.
And it depends on the talent you have.
You do have some difference makers, and I think
and Mike Tomlin,
in
obviously,
his career, he's a difference maker.
Absolutely. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. He's got his flaws just like anybody else. I'm critical of Terry Francona sometimes. I think he's the best manager in baseball. Doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes. I do think one thing Tyvis said yesterday was he thinks this team players-only defensive meeting is a way for them to basically get out their frustrations with each other and say, we can't have these communication errors anymore. They're killing us.
Exactly.
Hopefully we see the end of that. Because if that happens again this week,
I prefer Mike Tomlin's communication style over Kevin Stefanski's, but that doesn't mean that a person can't be more demonstrative than another person who's more quiet and get results. We see it all the time. I like the fact that Mike Tomlin will hold his players accountable in the media. He'll hold you accountable in the media on practice, and just the way he explains it to you in those certain ways is almost like saying, hey, you might want to get your stuff together. You'll be out of here. But
in fairness, G, he couldn't do that his second, third year in Pittsburgh. He's more vocal now than he was early in his career.
Mike Tomlin has been pretty vocal.
He has, but now he could say more of what the longer you're there, the more power you have.
More cachet you have. When he got there, he had a bunch of stars already in the locker room.
Right.
And I give him credit for being able to manage, navigate those guys.
Sure.
But my thing is, Stefanski wasn't garbage. He wasn't garbage the first game or the second game. I liked what he did offensively. I thought he great game plan, and I think that's the thing that's frustrating is left on the carving table is that, man, they had some really good stuff. Stefanski, I thought, called a great game. Jacoby looked comfortable. We found out we got a number one receiver that's going to catch the ball when he throws to, and Amari Cooper. I thought they mixed and matched very well. But It's just that, you know, when you get stuff that happens defensively, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So I think they can bounce back, and I think they'll do that. I just need to see a little more aggressive and giving them an opportunity to play a little more man coverage and get after the quarterback.
I know right now people may not agree with this. I think Kevin can be one of those difference makers, head coaches. I have more confidence in Kevin Stefanski, and this is not a high bar. I have more confidence in Kevin Stefanski than any coach of the last 10, 15 years with the Browns.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, that
definitely
is a pretty low
agree
bar.
with that.
I know it is.
I mean, I agree.
But
I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying you
I
can't.
still think
any
he
of
could
those
be a
guys
good.
head coach in the league anywhere?
I think Mike Pettin
No.
could be. I think he is so shell-shocked and PTSD'd from his
From
time
what happened here, yeah.
that he won't. I think
Yeah.
he could have been pretty good, I think.
I think Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, he was
Well,
here.
well,
He
not
was
as a head
OC.
coach.
Yeah, he was- but he was-
the head coaches that have come through here, except
been
for Bill
bad.
Belichick and Marty Schottenheimer, never went on to greatness anywhere else.
No.
I'm just saying you have to show some sort of patience, I think, with Kevin
Okay.
because
I
And that's
agree.
fair.
I do
Kevin's
think
gonna
Kevin
be a difference
Stefanski is a
maker.
decent coach, but he's still got a lot to prove. And
for sure.
you know,
For sure.
and especially in his team like his control of the team
But I
management.
said before the season started, this was going to be his most difficult season. And his first year was the COVID year, where he had to install everything over Zoom. But everything that's gone on with this team, all the Deshaun Watson stuff, this was going to be his most difficult year as coach. And we've already seen that play out through two games.
We got to move it on. One thing before we bring in Maurice Claret. You should never lose a football game with this kind of talent on defense when you score 30. That's
Never.
inexcusable,
Totally
and
agree.
it better
Never.
never happen again this year,
Never.
because if it does, we've got a big problem with Joe
Yeah.
Woods.
Yeah.
And secondly, as much as we're looking at what's gone on with this team and saying, oh my God, it's terrible, I poked around the Pittsburgh media yesterday. We got a 4-alarm blaze. They got a 5-alarm blaze.
There's at least a 4-alarm blaze for every team in this division right now. So
Yeah.
it's not over if you win.
Right.
Take care of business tonight, and then you forget about the
You
Jets
do.
game.
You
if
forget all
win it.
about the Jets
Yeah.
game. If you're 2-1, you're in a good
All's
spot. One
okay.
thing, I think they might argue. You both said you can't lose. It's harder to lose a game any worse than this. I think the Ravens might be arguing with that this week because 35-14, they
it's horrible.
dominated
They had a
more than
horrible
the
loss,
Browns
too.
dominated the Jets. Remember, that Browns-Jets game was close going into the fourth quarter. That was not settled.
Right.
Anything but settled. The Ravens, for 3.5 quarters, were murdering the Dolphins.
They were.
And then lost.
Yeah.